Okay. On this next section, we're going to start with special rights. Now, this information is on the formula chart, but you do need to maybe memorize some shortcuts for each type of special right. So on the formula chart, what you are given basically is the triangle, the angle, x, x, x squared root of 2. So you need to memorize or understand that your x's are your legs, and your hypotenuse is your leg times the square root of 2. Now, a shortcut, and this is when you normally have to work backwards. I'm going to scroll this up just a little bit. If you're going from a big side to a small side, you're going to have to divide by that square root of 2. Another way of saying that, because you might have to rationalize, if given the hypotenuse and you need a leg, your shortcut for the leg, so shortcut for leg, for finding leg, is that your leg is equal to whatever the hypotenuse is, square root of 2, so you're timesing by the square root of 2, over 2. That looks like high, but you're multiplying here, okay? Let me rewrite that. The hypotenuse times the square root of 2 over 2. So I would remember this information because it makes it a whole lot easier, and remember this because it makes this easier too when working backwards. Because sometimes they don't give you the leg, they give you the hypotenuse, and you have to work backwards. Now, on your formula chart for the 30, 60, 90, you are given the triangle, the degrees, so you have to see a 30 or 60 to use this. You're given the x for your short leg, x square root of 3 for your long leg, and your 2x. What you need to memorize is your short leg is always opposite the 30, okay? Also, that your long leg is always opposite, the short leg. Your long leg is always opposite the 60, and it's the short leg times radical 3, okay? And your hypotenuse always opposite the right angle. So we abbreviate, we do SL for short leg, LL for long leg, H for hypotenuse. So make sure you know which part is which. Now your shortcuts for your 30, 60, 90, there's two things you need to remember, okay? Besides where each side is, sometimes they don't give you the short leg. The key is always getting to the short leg first. So I'm gonna move this a little bit. We want to always find the short leg first. We call that home base, because that will give me everything else. So if I need to find the short leg, if you're missing the short leg, there's two ways you can do that. Move this down. You would need to, sorry, scroll up a little bit. It depends on what's given. So I'm going to show you one way. If I need to find the short leg, if the hypotenuse is given to you, you just divide it by 2. Okay? If you need to find the short leg and the long leg is given to you, you take whatever the long leg is, times it by radical 3, and divide it by 3. So if you're going to a big to a small side, you have to divide. Okay? So now we're going to apply these rules to some practice problems. The key to this is labeling your sides, identifying that angle. So like on number 6, since I see that 45, then this has to be 45 as well. Sometimes they do that with arcs, and that's showing 45. So if this is 45, we have a leg, and then our hypotenuse. Always opposite the right angle. Well, the legs are the same. So if this is 3 root 2, then this is 3 root 2 as well. Okay? Those are both the same. Now, to get to the hypotenuse, the rule says you take whatever the leg is and you times it by radical 2. So our leg is 3 root 2. Then I'm going to multiply that by square root of 2. But when I do that, and sometimes, guys, using your calculator, if you're not good with the algebra, just make sure you type it the way you write it, okay? So if I do 3 control square root of 2, square root of 2, then I have to come out to the side to show that now I'm multiplying. I don't want this dot underneath the radical. But now I can do the square root of 2. And hit enter, boom, there it is. Because we have people struggling sometimes in understanding what happens here. So use your calculator to check. What happened was, when you do square root of 2 times the square root of 2, that gave you the square root of 4. This is a perfect square. The square root of 4 is 2, so 3 times 2 is 6. Our hypotenuse is 6, okay? So make sure you type it in right, and it'll give you the right answer. You got to manipulate the calculator. Can't let the calculator manipulate you. All right, so now the key on number 7 is I see the 60. Opposite the 60 is our long leg. So then the other would be our short leg, and then our hypotenuse. Remember, short leg is home base, so I have my 5 to get my long leg. All I have to do is take whatever the short leg is, multiply it by radical 3. Basically, I'm just putting that number in front of the square root of 3. So x is 5 root 3, and we're done. Okay? It will be that simple. You recognize and understand the rules. So on this one, we have the 30. Opposite the 30, the y over here, this would be the short leg. That means this over here is 60, so that would be opposite, that would be long leg. And this is the hypotenuse. And this is what I'm talking about, home base. Start with the 30, the short leg first. We don't have the short leg, so I have to get it. What do we have? We have the hypotenuse. So to get to the short leg, I take the hypotenuse and I divide it by 2. Well, I'm just going to substitute. Our hypotenuse is 6 root 3. I'm divided by 2. When I divide by 2, I only can do the numbers on the outside. I can't do what's on the inside. Okay? Outside and outside go together. Inside and inside go together. So this becomes 8 root 3. That's my short leg. Now, to get to my long leg, I take whatever the short leg is and multiply. Take whatever that is and multiply by root 3. This always ends up coming, if you multiply a radical to itself, it turns into a whole number. So this ends up becoming a whole number. And if we did this correct, we should have 24. Okay? We should have 24. Check with your calculator. Check with your steps. All right, now we have what we call multi-step triangles. So on the multi-step triangles, start with the triangle that you have a side measure for. Like I have this 5 root 2, that represents the hypotenuse. I can use this triangle first. Well, that's a 45, 45, 90. That's a right isosceles. So if this is 5 root 2, 5 times root 2, the legs are both 5. Now, I'm using that 5, in this right isosceles. This 5 is opposite the right angle, so it's the hypotenuse. So this is the leg. To get to a leg, you take your hypotenuse, multiply by the square root of 2, divided by 2. So I'm going to substitute. My hypotenuse is a 5. I'm going to take that with the radical 2 and then divide by 2. 2 cannot go into 5, so we're done. There's our answer. All right, so where do we start on 10? If you said 10 root 3, that's absolutely right. So we start with this triangle, okay, because that is given. What does that represent? It's opposite the 60. Good, long leg, okay? So that means if my long leg is 10 root 3, then my short leg, which is over here, would equal what? Exactly, 10. And then my hypotenuse, which is over here, would equal what? Double the 10, 20, exactly. So now I have those parts. I can look at the adjacent triangle. Here it is. That 10 is opposite the 60. So that 10 represents the long leg, exactly. So our long leg is now 10 in my green triangle. I need to get to my short leg. To get to the short leg, when you have the long leg, you take that, multiply by radical 3, divided by 3. So we're just going to substitute the parts. Substitute the 10, put the radical 3, divided by 3. And now 3 can't go into 10, so we are done. Okay. All right, so this last one, I'm going to leave this for you. I'm going to get you started, but I want to see if you can get to the end. We have to start here with the 6 with this triangle. What does that 6 represent in that triangle since it's opposite the 60? Exactly, the long leg. We got to get to the short leg. To get to that short leg, you take the long leg, times it by radical 3, divided by 3. So we're just going to plug in the parts. So this would be 3 square root of 3. Oh, not 3, sorry. The long leg is 6. Apologize. 6 square root of 3 over 3. The 3 now on this one can go into 6 2 times. So we get 2 root 3. That is our short leg. We'll put that 2 root 3 over here. We're going to get to our hypotenuse, which is over here. What is the length of the hypotenuse in relationship to the short leg? It's double that. So this ends up being, let me just take away that h, ends up becoming 4 root 3. You only double the coefficient, the number on the outside. So now you're on the right isosceles, the adjacent triangle here, because that represents a leg. So this is 4 root 3. Now to get to the hypotenuse, it is the leg times the square root of 2. So our leg is 4 root 3 times the square root of 2. Get that final answer. So that takes care of doing our special rights. And then now the next thing we're going to get into is our trig. Thanks for taking care of that.